Welcome to Just the Basics. This is a beginner's guide to Mortal Kombat 11, and today we're focusing on the Elder Goddess Cetrion and her ranked variation, Spring Cleaning. Cetrion is known in the game as probably the strongest zoner. Zoning is a term used within fighting games for a character who is strong in projectiles, or basically keeping the opponent firmly controlled at a distance. While Cetrion's strengths do indeed lie within her zoning, I want to take a more comprehensive look at everything she has to offer. Contrary to popular belief, she has a few options and exceptionally strong combo strings that will turn her from a casual zoner to a master that controls all aspects of the field. When I learn a new character in Mortal Kombat 11, there's a couple of things that I focus on first. One of those is, does this character have a good back 4? Back 4 is the universal sweep input for all characters within the game. Characters like Shiva or Shao Kahn have great back 4s that can quickly kick things off, or catch opponents unaware mid-match. Cetrion, however, is a little lacking. The speed is good, but the range is not. It's very hard to catch anyone with that unless you're up close, and that's not where you want to be with Cetrion. Secondly, I ask myself, what are my best options for starting a match with this character? And again, Cetrion comes up short. Her regular combo strings just don't have the speed or range necessary to find openings at the start. Instead, I find the best option is to play it defensively, but if I do want to take a more aggressive approach, she does have a couple of specials that are good to surprise people with. This largely depends on the matchup and the expectations from your opponents. First up, you have this aerial special here. If you played against Cetrion before, you've probably seen it. If you suspect that your opponent may jump in at you at the beginning, just jump back and hit him with that. Elsewise, it's one of your safest options to begin any exchange with. My personal favorite, however, is something called the Natural Barrier. Cetrion pulls the rocks from the ground, and what it lacks in range, it makes up for in speed and efficiency. If someone is charging at you too carelessly, it can usually punish them before they can hit you. It also works against aerial opponents, although sometimes the hitbox on that can be a little funny. Additionally, if it blocks a projectile and is amplified, it can lead to an easy crushing blow, and the damage on that is very nice. Moving ahead past the startup options, I want to take a look at some of Cetrion's best combo strings, and this is an area where I feel most Cetrion players don't take advantage of her full skill set. Early on, while playing Cetrion, I had to learn that this was a character who demands attention to spacing when performing combos. Most strings start with a high attack, so if you get in too close, the opponent is going to duck below your hit and punish you hard. One string that I use very commonly, though, is this exchange that ends with a low pop-up. As you can see, if you jump in at the beginning, it changes the number of hits required, so it can keep your opponent off balance. If you use it too much though, the opponent's going to know it's coming and just block low the entire time, safely avoiding any damage. Next up, we have what is probably my favorite and most used combo in her arsenal. This is an exchange that can advance from further away and more quickly than most anticipate. Easily baiting people into their own attack, it can punish hard with a crushing blow, and that crushing blow attached is easily extended with another combo, though many prefer to end it with her tendril special attack. I find the tendrils a bit tricky to time correctly, so I prefer to extend the combo with another string. Speaking of, this combo is pretty awesome visually. It's very fast and can create some pressure, but it's very unsafe if the opponent blocks, and you can get punished for it pretty easily. One thing that you may notice from the first combo in that exchange. Even on block, it creates space between you and your opponent, making it a very useful tool for Cetrion. Lastly, I want to talk about what is probably Cetrion's most well-known combo. Popular online, many Cetrion players rely on this a little too much. The second hit, which is a low attack, can catch opponents off guard if they're unfamiliar with the matchup, but for experienced opponents, they can block it and punish you for it easily. This is where I found one of Cetrion's biggest strengths to be to cancel combos and to lead it into specials. As you can see, it can end in a variety of ways, which can catch people off balance. My favorite, however, is this. Resetting into a throw position takes time and puts you at a risk. The opponent can block you out of it, but most of the time they're expecting that overhead, and you'll catch them blocking completely open to the throw. That about covers it for her most useful strings. She has a couple of other attacks, but I personally don't use them very much. Next up, let's talk about her special attacks. We've already talked about the natural barrier and her aerial fire. So let's talk about the teleport. A very fast teleport, and it can also be performed from the air. When used in conjunction with her fire, you can create mind games with your opponents. They might expect the fire and instead teleport and punish. Or they might expect a teleport and they get the fire. You can also control the distance from your opponents, which you teleport with. The input on this is a little tricky, so you should probably practice it a little bit more than I have. Next up, let's talk about the tendrils. At first glance, they seem very powerful. They track the opponent no matter where they are in the field, so you don't have to put any additional inputs based on where your opponent is standing. But they're way too easily blocked, and not very useful unless you're going up against someone who is weak at zoning or you're trying to extend your combo. But the timing on extending a combo can be very tricky, so I don't recommend it that much. A more useful tool for Cetrion is her water projectile. This move doesn't track like the tendrils, so you do have to put additional inputs based on where your opponent is standing, whether that be close range, mid-range, or far away. The default, however, is mid-range. And this is basically where you want Cetrion to be at all times. This works great when the opponent has been downed and is trying to wake up, and you want to create some instant pressure. It also has a crushing blow attached, but that crushing blow is a little hard to hit. the crushing blow requirements is that you miss with this attack 3 or 4 times, and then hit with it the 4th time. This can be amplified, however, which leaves your opponent floating, and you can extend the combo really nicely from there. Moving on, we have another one of her more well-known attacks, throwing rocks. This comes in 2 varieties, tossing it into the air like this, or to the ground like this. The inputs are similar, down back 2, or back forward 2. This can lead to an easy crushing blow when you throw it to the air. If it hits somebody, it's gonna crushing blow them, and it causes huge damage. But this is more useful and more reliable. One thing you'll notice here is even on block, it creates a lot of distance. Couple this with another special attack, and you can make it very difficult for your opponent to get in. You can also try the tendrils here, but I find the water to be the better option. To summarize and bring this video to a close, Cetrion is not a difficult character to learn. The spacing on her combos can be the toughest aspect of her attack to get down, but with patience and practice you can easily tear your opponents apart with her varied arsenal. If you learn to take heed of her combo potential, you'll rise quickly against most opponents online. Overall, I give the character an A+.